Mass Effect Legendary Edition is without a doubt one of the most essential RPG collections of all time. I never got to play the original trilogy when it first came out, but a couple years ago I had the chance to finally play the trilogy through for the first time, and after finishing all three games, I can safely say that the Mass Effect trilogy is still one of the greatest narratives gaming has ever seen. Whether you're into third-person action shooters, heavy narrative choices, or just looking for a great space opera, the Mass Effect trilogy delivers in every single way that you can imagine. As it's regularly on sale for dirt cheap, I thought I'd make a video on why you should play the game in 2025, of course without any spoilers at all. Also, if you enjoy this type of content, please consider subbing to the channel and dropping a like, and without further ado, let's get right into it. First off, what exactly is the Mass Effect Legendary Edition? The Mass Effect Legendary Edition is a remastered collection of the original Mass Effect trilogy. So that's Mass Effect 1, 2 and 3 with all of their 40 plus DLC all in one polished and refined package. It was developed by BioWare and released in 2021, and as mentioned earlier includes all single player content from the trilogy, including their DLCs with noticeable visual upgrades, UI improvements and major combat fixes, especially in regard to Mass Effect 1. Mass Effect 1 is definitely the game that got the largest facelift of them all, with better gunplay, camera work, load times and lighting, hence removing the jankiness of the original game while still staying true to the spirit of the original game. In the Mass Effect trilogy, you'll follow the story of Commander Shepard, a soldier who's caught in the midst of a looming war against an ancient force that works to threaten all life in the galaxy. What makes Mass Effect in particular so unique is that this journey spans across the entire trilogy, letting you carry your decisions, relationships and builds from one game to the next, continually evolving the Shepard you are creating into what you want. Truly, to this day, no other RPG series really has been able to replicate this sort of long-spanning storytelling model, and it's still something that feels so entirely unique even today. If you're someone who's looking for a beautiful, cohesive narrative arc with real choice and consequence, Mass Effect Legendary Edition should definitely be on your radar. Okay, now to briefly discuss Mass Effect Legendary Edition's world or worlds and its exploration. Right off the bat, Mass Effect's sci-fi universe is one of the most immersive settings I've ever set foot in my time gaming. Whether you're wandering around the larger-than-life citadel, exploring the terrain of war-torn planets, or landing on desolate alien worlds, the sense of scale in Mass Effect's universe is always there. And it's not like these worlds and places are empty, but they all wield their own unique atmospheres and lore, and truly add to the phenomenal world building of the adventure as a whole. As for exploration, the first game in particular leans much more into planetary exploration, as you'll be able to drive across uncharted terrain on different planets, scanning for any anomalies while you stumble into a variety of wacky and original side quests. The second and third games make significant strides in tightening the focus of exploration within the trilogy, as they shift more towards handcrafted environments and story-focused missions, which I personally value more in terms of exploration. But even with that, the trilogy never loses that feeling of having an expansive galaxy to explore whenever you feel like it. Every location within this universe feels like it has meaning and is full of its own weird and interesting history. Even years after the original trilogy's release, the approach of Mass Effect's exploration is still uncontested by many games even today, and it honestly felt so refreshing when I first played it a couple of years ago. It doesn't feel like you're just filling out a map and ticking off checkpoints, but you're truly uncovering the fate of species within the galaxy, listening to the debacles of galactic politics, and helping the galaxy fight back against the evil that tries to destroy it. It's truly a trilogy that trusts your curiosity and rewards it unlike many other games out there today. Now let's move on to some discussion of the gameplay, or really the combat of the Mass Effect trilogy. The combat across the trilogy steadily evolves, and with the improvements integrated by the Legendary Edition, even the jankiest parts of the trilogy, in particular with Mass Effect 1's combat system, are way more smooth and enjoyable to play. The first game plays like a hybrid RPG shooter, where your stats and gear play a much bigger role than the skills and abilities you unlock within your journey. In Mass Effect 1, you utilize your guns, biotic powers, tech abilities, and a tactical pause system akin to another BioWare game like Dragon Age Origins to plan out your moves within combat encounters. Some would consider it rough by today's standards, but with the fixes of the Legendary Edition, the gameplay of the first game feels just good enough to make it still satisfying to play through. On the other hand, Mass Effect 2 really does overhaul everything from the first game's combat, as it leans more into the cover-based shooting system popular at the time in games like Gears of War, and it gives you much tighter controls over your squad, and really streamlines the RPG elements without completely making it lose its RPG touch touch and feel. It's easily the most accessible entry in the series gameplay-wise, having a great balance between moment-to-moment action gameplay and squad-based strategy. Of course, once you reach Mass Effect 3, pretty much everything in terms of the combat is at its very best. The combat is fluid, impactful, and it feels dynamic, and it to me is definitely the best of the trilogy mechanically. Across all 3 games in the trilogy, you've got the class system that really allows you to tailor the way in which you play, from being a sneaky sniper to a biotic powerhouse that can throw enemies across the map. Your powers will often work in synergies with your squad mates, which adds a sort of tactical depth to the game's combat encounters. Speaking of the squad mates and their utility within combat, commanding your team in combat for me really added a lot of the flair and personality to the combat system. It's not all about just gunning down your enemies, but it's about setting up synergies with your squad mates, managing your ability cooldowns, and making sure that your team is able to survive some of the tougher encounters within the trilogy. The game definitely doesn't reinvent the wheel in terms of its action RPG mechanics, but it definitely executes them with style and flair, especially once you get further into the trilogy and become accustomed to the combat style present across the games. Now, this is really where the Mass Effect trilogy carved out its everlasting legacy. Across the entire trilogy, the choices and decisions you make, either that be seemingly minor conversations to the major galaxy-changing decisions, all matter in shaping the narrative of the trilogy as a whole. And it never feels like it's simply in a binary good or evil sort of way. Your choices ripple, characters live or die, alliances form and fracture, missions play out entirely differently, all depending on the decisions that you've made throughout the games. What's the most impressive and unique aspect of it all by far, though, is how these choices continue to carry from one game to the next, with choices that you made in Mass Effect 1 possibly having impacts on the narrative in the third game. The games will remember your decisions automatically in the Legendary Edition from game to game, and this could be in regard to someone you helped, who you betrayed, and how you decide to handle certain dilemmas within the story. Few games, even now, have been able to offer that kind of long-term narrative reactivity offered by the Mass Effect trilogy, and still, to this day, it's shocking to me that they were able to pull this off back then in such a fantastic way. The trilogy isn't just about a single big twist that's built up over the games, but it's rather about you watching the galaxy around you change as a result of your presence and the decisions you have made and continue to make. Commander Shepard isn't just a character you play as, but it's a slate that becomes your own legacy within the Mass Effect universe at large. Whether you decide to play your choices in an evil or good aligning way, or even somewhere in between, the dialogue choices throughout the trilogy never stop feeling impactful, and you'll continue to be amazed when a decision you had forgotten about comes to bite you back much later in the trilogy. The role you serve within the Mass Effect universe isn't one that is predefined, but one that you shape over time yourself. And in 2025, where many games still struggle to truly offer meaningful narrative choices and player agency, the choices and accompanying consequences of the Mass Effect trilogy still stand out as the golden standard for how games of this manner should be developed. Now finally, let's talk about the story and characters of the Mass Effect trilogy, just briefly of course, again without any spoilers at all. Mass Effect isn't just a story about stopping a galaxy-ending threat, but it's a story for mostly about people. The companions are the heart and soul of the Mass Effect trilogy, all built with their own arcs and distinct personalities which develop over the course of all 3 games. Whether it's the unshakable loyalty of Garrus or the emotional depth of characters like Liara, your squad mates aren't just tools for use in combat, but they're the core of your relationships and friendships within this journey. You'll lose some and face difficult decisions regarding others, all that test your loyalty, with such moments hitting hard due to the consistently good writing present throughout the trilogy. The story itself is a high-stakes sci-fi epic that somehow never loses sight of the personal as well. The themes within the trilogy are timeless and beautifully executed, and I enjoyed every single pivotal moment I got to experience with this fantastic trilogy's narrative. The voice acting and performance of the characters within the trilogy are also consistently stellar across the board, especially that of both male and female Shepard, and the various companions that you'll venture across the galaxy with in your time with the games. The trilogy's cinematic presentation also still holds up surprisingly well even today, with shots and facial animations not being so outdated to take you out of the experience, and in some ways is better still than many games being released today. The Mass Effect trilogy is one of those rare games that makes you truly feel like you're living within this universe, and that the galaxy evolves with and through you, with the connection only growing deeper as you spend more and more time with its fantastic characters and writing. I think my verdict is pretty obvious, but yes, you should definitely play Mass Effect Legendary Edition in 2025 and even further beyond, as the trilogy is still one of the best RPG collections ever made. It's not simply a remaster of the games that came before, but it's really a reminder of what narrative-driven RPGs can achieve when given the time and passion of the developers working hard to make them. Mass Effect has incredibly layered world building, meaningful choices, and fun combat, with one of the best video game casts you'll ever see, making it a trilogy that truly stands the test of time. If you've never played it, there's no better time to jump in, especially when it regularly goes on sale for just a few dollars. And if you have played it, you already know why a second or third run is calling your name. Anyway, that's all from me for today's video. If you enjoyed, please consider subbing to the channel and dropping a like, and I'll see you all in the next one. Peace.